What up, Vibers? It's your boy Kai. Welcome to another episode of the Vibe with Kai podcast. In today's episode, I have a super special guest that I'm excited for all of you to meet. We're talking with the amazing Bari Levin, Executive Director of the I Am Abl Foundation. Bari is a retired special education teacher with over 34 years of experience. Yes, 34 years of experience, which is amazing. She spent most of her career working with middle school students, helping them embrace their learning differences like ADHD and dyslexia. And now she's taken her passion to a whole new level with the I Am Abl Foundation, where she helps build a community that supports neurodiversity through storytelling and education. We'll be diving deep into what that foundation is all about, how it's helping those with invisible learning disabilities, and what you can do to support this incredible movement. Plus, Bari will be sharing her own journey, and trust me, you'll want to hear everything that we have to say here, and it's going to be a really fun, uplifting, and motivating episode. So grab your favorite snack, take a seat, and let's do this. My friend, Bari Levin, how are you?
I'm doing great, and I want to thank you for having me on your
Yeah,
because I've been following you and love
yeah,
your message and the positive vibes. It's what we're about,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
thank you for keep getting that out there and spreading the
Oh
love because we
yeah.
need a lot of that.
My pleasure. And it's funny, and I said this in the blog post that I posted as well. As soon as I, heard what you all were about, I was like, okay, this is the kind of stuff that we need to be pushing out there. This is the kind of stuff that we need to be educating people on, because not a lot of people know that there are organizations out here like this that are helping people that can really, really, help people on their mental health journeys, which is a fantastic thing. So what I want to do, I want to start with you personally. I love your journey from teaching special education for over 34 years and then joining the I Am Abl Foundation. What first sparked your passion for working with students who have learning differences, and how has that evolved over the years?
Oh my God, it's totally about. It's something that I knew I always wanted to do something with kids, and I went to
Mhm.
Illinois State University, and it was your school. But at the time, I went in as a child psych major. And, for some reason, I was taking the general psychology class, and it wasn't vibing at
Mhm.
all. And,
Mhm.
this professor was retiring, and I'm like, is this really what I want to do?
Right.
With all statistics and testing and everything. And I ended up you know, passing the class and had to think about what I wanted to do. And so to the counselor, and it was like, boom, we started talking, and I went into special education as,
Mhm.
because it's a great special education. It's a great teaching school. And, it moved straight ahead after that. It was just like so easy for me, and it was just
Yeah.
so great. And as a junior in college, I was involved in an organization called Council for Exceptional Children, became the student treasurer for the local chapter, and then I became more involved, and I met a lot of professionals
Mhm.
as a and senior in college, and that was a great way to shape me as I went to some of those conferences and I got involved and we did some things on campus. I ended up a we had a school uh, for intellectual disabilities, and it was called Raymond School. And I'll never forget it because it was so cool
Mhm.
to watch these kids be able to play basketball against their teachers on the ISU Redbirds, court. They got to meet ISU Redbirds, and that like started my journey
Yeah.
of being very passionate about seeing those faces, and it just allowed me to continue where I was, and then taught middle school for I would say 30 years of my career out of the
Yeah, I was gonna
34.
say, like you taught middle school, which is, I mean, I know I was a pain in the butt in middle school, so I know that middle school students are usually sometimes a challenging age group for a lot of educators. And I'm curious, what is it about working with middle schoolers that you found most rewarding?
You had an opportunity. They were old enough to actually make a connection. For me, it was about building relationships with my students because if I didn't have a relationship with my students, they wouldn't work for you. And I did do direct instruction. So like I taught direct instruction. I did reading, language arts, math, depended on the year and the needs of the kids. And if you don't have that communication and relationship with your students, they're not going to be able to work with you as much and feel that confidence level and self-esteem. So I really, really focused on developing relationships. But as I evolved in teaching to be a better educator, because I'm doing a lot more talking to my students, because I did a lot of, majority of it was 7th and 8th grade students. So I was able to dive more into it, because when I first started teaching, there wasn't a lot talking about, oh, well, they're going to the special ed class. You know, a lot of the parents didn't talk to their children about what it was, are in a special ed class. And things started evolving as I got more into my career, that parents were starting to have some conversations with some kids, don't have enough right now. And that's why, why for the I Am Abl Foundation and the project that we created, but we all learn differently, which I will also get into. But
Yeah.
I ended up getting more into discussions with my students about their IEPs, what their learning disability is like, what they have, to do a little bit more digging for them to understand that they can be successful. They just learn differently. Brought in people at the time, we Skyped, because, that was before the pandemic, and guest speakers to talk to my students who themselves were, ADHD or dyslexia, dysgraphia, whatever they had. They were talking and sharing their successes and challenges with my students. So for me, it was really important to start those conversations and build the relationship with my middle school students, to give them the confidence so that when they get to high school, they could say, okay, I got this. And
Right.
just recently, I met with one of my former students at a school. We had a memorial, former students who has graduated amazingly. Like, I mean, it's like, wow, 4 years have gone by, but he graduated high school, and he said to me, I heard your voice, act for yourself. And he says, you know what, Mrs. Levin, that's what got me through high school. I advocated for myself.
Mhm.
And to me, when you hear stories like that, you made a
Oh yeah.
difference. And,
It makes it all worth it, right? Like it kind of
absolutely.
reminds you why you do what you do, and which is really cool because so in regards to the I Am Able Foundation, which was founded, if I'm not mistaken, by Aaron Wolf, right?
Correct.
And you had a conversation with him about his vision for the foundation and how it resonated with you. What based upon your experience as an
Mhm.
educator and the conversation that you had initially with Aaron about what his vision for this foundation was, what point made you say I'm 100% in? Like, what was the moment that you're like, yeah, absolutely.
Well, Aaron was one of the gentlemen that spoke to my students
Mm-hmm.
before I retired. So I had started building a relationship with him. And we started talking one day about, I'm retiring, what am I going to be doing? And, I always knew that I wanted to continue working with the neurodiverse community and the learning difference community and just continue helping others. And what happened is we started talking, and he was telling me about his idea. I started this video documentary, which, you know, right before the pandemic, they still were like at the beginning stages of it. And the pandemic hit, and, all the money dried out and everything. But he wanted to create this movement, the I Am Able movement. And through that process, I said, so who do you have, behind you? He says, well, my buddy Tim and I, we're revamping because the pandemic, we're trying to work through it. And I said, so you need someone like me who's retired, who can give the time to help build this. And I said, after talking about the same passion, Aaron is neurodiverse. and and hearing his story, and I was grateful that he talked to my students. So this gave me an opportunity, like, I'm here,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
rock and roll, and
Stronger.
we're ready to make a difference in the community. And
All right.
through his passion is through storytelling. My passion is networking and connecting people. So, and Tim is behind the scenes, and he actually does some of the video for our the video editing for our videos that we've created. And Aaron's gift is speaking in front of the camera and getting kids and adults talking about their neurodiversity. So we each, within our own group, the I Am Abl Foundation, we found each other's strengths, and that's how we work. Um,
Right, which is great. That's like it's really cool how it all like plays out that way because I mean again like with your expertise and his expertise and the expertise of everybody that's involved with it, you're able to cover a lot of really important bases when it comes to helping people and stuff like that. So what I want to do for the people that are listening right now or watching and they hear us talk about the I Am Able Foundation for the first time, could you explain to them what the foundation does and what the main mission is behind it?
so our main mission is really through building community and storytelling. And our goal is to reach school kids, school age kids all the way through the workplace. I believe in allowing people to feel comfortable with who they are. We all have has challenges and their strengths. We want to reduce the stigma, you know, as Aaron calls it, squashing the stigma.
Hmm.
Um, and we want to replace it with, you know, I have dyslexia, but I am able to do this, this, and this. And, we want to spread the positivity and the strengths because everybody works differently and everybody learns differently. So through our storytelling, we created empowerment groups, which we had started, Wimping our Austin group. We do have a group that we have on video on our foundation page, I Am Abl Foundation page, where people just talk. They're neurodiverse and just talk about their issues. Talk about, and it's a way to bond with each other and kind of so people support each other. So we have an opportunity where people text each other and say, "Hey, I'm having a tough day getting this done. Will you?" you know,
Hmm.
maybe try this. Or,
Hmm.
somebody put in there about don't leave it out. Put it away right away if you're cooking or
Sure.
something. And that resonates to a bunch of us. Like, put it away instead of leaving it out. Because if you don't put it right away, your desk
Right.
or whatever is going to be a complete mess. So we do a lot of sting and supporting each other that way. And they've gotten together. The group has gotten together and socially, because that's also an area that certain groups need some support in helping with friendships. It all depends on the age, the group, and people. One thing that we got involved in is educating All Learners Alliance. We invited to this community in action with a group of organizations that came up with the idea we all learn differently. And I am spearheaded it and finished the product. And so now we're really working and getting it in schools. So basically it's for middle schools. And our goal is we have a video where Aaron was able to interview 3 middle school students. He interviewed some teachers and were able to get them. And he just met these girls that day, and they were so incredibly on target and were felt comfortable talking about their learning disabilities. And for us, it was important to hear the student voice. We really
Oh yeah.
felt student voice was important with this.
Yeah, like I love that you talk about inclusivity in middle schools because I feel like that's so important. And we're recording this episode, like this episode won't air, for a little bit, but we're recording this a day after school shooting, another school
Mhm.
shooting. I think it was the 45th this year, which is so heartbreaking. No matter like where you stand on this kind of thing. It's just heartbreaking to see this kind of thing happen. It shouldn't happen, and I hate that we've become numb to this. I feel like in a way, like it's just like we're not shocked by this kind of stuff anymore, which is really really disappointing. But one of the things that you and I were talking about right before we hit the record button was how the person that did the shooting was screaming for help. Like the signs were there. The there was so many different things that could have, helped in that situation, which is why I believe what the I Am Abl Foundation is doing plays such a critical role in helping people feel welcome, helping people feel understood, so on and so forth. And I want to use that to go into one of the things that you mentioned this before, but you had this really big, amazing initiative called We All Learn Differently. Could you share what that campaign is all about and how it helps when it comes to inclusivity in schools?
Yeah, thank you. Is just to start conversations. We created this video that and go to wealllearndifferently.com. It's a free resource because we got the grant from ELA. So we are very grateful for ELA and that we were able to get this grant, and that the video talks about these three girls and teachers about learning differences. And then we did a playbook where you start having conversations about how we all learn differently and how do you learn best. And so the goal is to create empathy and understanding that we do all learn differently. And it's because this one student might get an extra help or need extra time, it doesn't mean that they're lazy, stupid, negative comments. And I'll learn differently, and that is okay. And we need to start these conversations at middle school. I truly believe it, because I know in my heart, when I talk to my kids, I do have a lot of former students who come back to me and talk to me, and share with me things. It goes to the fact that I've had these conversations. I believed in them. They knew I was there for them. And we need to be there for all kids. And this starts the conversation. The playbook has that every student can do. And so, again, it allows to start the conversation. It could be, for parents as well. Parents could do this in their home, show the video at home, have discussions. We also put in there questions for parents to ask their child about how do they learn best. Start having the conversation about their learning differences, because that is so important. And you and I both know that learning differences impact their mental health and their self-esteem. So why not have these conversations and start conversations at the middle school level that we all learn differently and empower everyone? And so this gives us an opportunity. So we're just excited. I'm getting into some schools. We did some pilot last year. Now we're getting into more schools, and actually going to be presenting it to the National Disabilities Association. So is to reach as many parents, kids, middle schools, teachers, psychologists, whoever, to watch video, download the playbook. It's free. All we ask for in return is getting some feedback so that we could add feedback to our page. And yeah, it would be nice for, some donations to the foundation, so that I would to see, and I know Aaron and Tim and our team would like to see maybe a follow-up video of the girls that we talked to and how it impacted them, that their video is out for the world to see.
Yeah.
Also, it allows us to continue creating and adding more to the playbook, and us to go around and speak to the schools and to the parents.
Right.
So
I love that you brought up the parents. I love that you brought up the adult side of it, because the I Am Abl Foundation, it does focus on both children and adults with the type of stuff that you put out there. And I'm really curious, what are some of the unique challenges that you see from your end that neurodivergent adults are facing in
Sure.
today's world,
Yeah.
especially in the workplace.
Yeah.
How does the foundation support them as well?
We're here for them. And in fact, we're starting working on a new initiative called We All Work Differently. So
Hmm.
that will be coming out this coming fall, winter. So I have the complete logistics, but we are creating some storytelling through that, creating a way to get into some businesses and start that conversation. Again, adults still have different, or the stigma is still there for putting themselves out there that they have, they're neurodiverse. And again, we shouldn't have that. And in fact, somebody that I know who has been putting down that she has a disability and she's been in transit of job searching, and she's thinking maybe that's why she hasn't had jobs before, because I could think she put down that she has ADHD. And she's like, well, maybe I should take that off and discuss it after the application. Now, we shouldn't have to do that, but it's still a stigma out there. So that's another avenue that we really want to focus in on as well, is reaching the adults. We've been working on a resource page, and we've been working on a blog on our site as well. The resource page, we have adult resources, apps, books that kids and adults can go to. And I'm always looking for new resources, so people can always send me information and I'll add it to our website. Because as a teacher, as a parent, we know it's difficult to find things. So again, we want to create an atmosphere that they could just, even if they don't support us, just go look, and there's a resource page for websites
Sure.
that they could go to.
Yeah, and I'm
So
going to include the link to the website in the description of this podcast. And that way, all you have to do is click, and you can visit the website. You can visit their social media channels, and at minimum, give a follow, share a couple things. At minimum, just to get the word out about this. I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are watching, that are listening, that have listened up to this point, and they're like, okay, I'm in, I'm sold. Tell me what I can do. How can people get involved with the I Am Abl Foundation, whether it's through donations, volunteering, spreading awareness? What can people do?
exactly the three things that you said, allow us to continue to do some videos and the storytelling, and to get our message out there on our social media accounts, sharing our work. I think that's really helpful as well. If you want to volunteer and, find ways, I'm looking for bloggers. I mean, I'm looking for people who are interested in wanting to get more involved in our team. There's looking for people who, can help us out, because again, we're at this point, we're just getting started. We're only 3.5 years in. And I have to say, we've done a lot with the limited amount of resources that we've done. And I to you, we're all very passionate about what we're doing, because there's a reason behind why we're doing it. We have connections to the neurodiverse community, but it's also, we need to make a difference in this community. We've come
Hmm.
a long way. I've seen, from through the teaching special education, where not having parents even talk to their children about special education, to having more conversations. But we still have a long way to go. Our parents still don't sometimes feel comfortable having the conversation with their children about ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, or, having autism. We need to have those conversations, and that will allow them to also build more confidence to understand what they have and why they have it, but they also can be successful utilizing their strengths. We need to
Hmm.
help work through the strengths and give them those positive ways, because everybody can be successful.
I agree 100%. I love what you do, with what the team does. I think it's truly fascinating and caring and all of that. And I'm very curious, just to kind of, bring things, back full circle here, as we bring this section of the podcast to a close. And before we head off into the very special section of the podcast, which is for subscribers. So before I get into the final question that I have here, If you are a subscriber, you're going to get some extra content from my interview today with Barry. So make sure you go subscribe on either Facebook, Instagram, or on TikTok. You can subscribe on any of those platforms, and you're going to get some extra conversation that we are going to have today. With that said, what are your final thoughts or words of wisdom that you would like to share with the audience today about neurodiversity, about inclusion, and about the work that you're doing with the I Am Abl Foundation?
I would say, important. It's so important to allow the neurodiverse community to feel confident for who they are and allow them to be themselves. In the workplace, they might just need simple accommodations. To have these conversations more, and so that they're not being left out, because the neurodiverse community and beyond the community, and that all goes into mental health. If we don't allow people to be confident and feel good about who they are and not be shamed because they have a learning disability or learning difference or any type of disability, affects their mental health. And you know what? We all deserve to be spreading love and positive vibes like you do, because that, we need more of that
Yeah,
in our lives.
absolutely. And I always say to people, I'm very blessed in the fact that I'm never pouring from an empty glass. And the Vibers, my Viber family, my audience are some of the most supportive, caring, loving people that I've ever met in my entire life, which is why I was eager for them to hear
Mm,
about the I Am Able Foundation, because I know there's going to be a lot of them that are going to want to find out how they can help
yeah,
and all of that. So if you're listening or you're watching right now
yeah,
and you're like, okay, I'm in, I want to
yeah,
help out in some way, whether it's spreading awareness, donating, volunteering, whatever you can do
yes.
will help. Anything that you can do will help. So I'm going to include all of those links in the description of this podcast, including their social media handles. So you can go, at minimum, give them
Right.
a follow. At minimum, give them a
And
follow. And yeah,
join the I Am Able movement. Also, one thing I would like to say: share your story. Share your story to us. A YouTube page, and we'll get more stories. The more that we share, kids through adults, the more we're a community, the more we're together and we are out there, the better off we are as a whole, and we
I
should
agree.
be as a whole. So
I agree.
join our movement. We would love to have you all.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. I love that. I would love that. I know we talked offline about, possibly having Aaron on the show as well. So I would more than happy have him, to talk with him about this and help to spread the word as much as possible. So, well, with that said, my friends, thank you so much to my guests for hanging
Thank
out with
you.
me
Thank you
today.
for having
I
me.
really appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm going to include all of the social media handles and the website in the description of this podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And if you are a subscriber, you're going to get additional conversation that we're going to be having. We're going to play a fun game, Barry,
Oh,
a fun game of
okay.
Would You Rather. A fun game of Would You Rather, which we're going to play for the subscribers. So make sure you go subscribe. That way you can go check that out. Everybody, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. As always,
And
much love, good vibes,
thank
and I'll
you.
talk to you later.